everybody. Today we're going to learn about Photoshop and you as far as it goes with Spine. We're going to cover the different tags for your layers and how to import your PSD into Spine. First things first, you have your Photoshop file. Here I'll have a reference image. These are the girls that I drew. So for this tutorial series, there's going to be 2 characters on 1 rig. Thus, there are 2 characters here. I did already draw them, but I'm going to go through the layers so that you can kind of understand why I did the naming conventions that I did. Just for preamble, here are the tags that are very important when it comes to working with Photoshop and Spine. It is different from using Illustrator to Spine, so please keep that in mind. That will be a later video, but for Photoshop, these will do you good. So back to my project, you can see that it's a cluster of characters, a lot of art on art. You can see like I have a closed eye on top of a regular eye. And that's just because I personally, when I'm exporting, like to see everything to make sure that I have everything that I need to do. You'll also notice that I just have like one eye. She's sort of missing half her body. That's because she'll be fairly symmetrical. So if you're doing asymmetrical characters or like maybe one of her eyes was way different than the other or her arms or something, then you would want to have different arts depending on what you need. But in this case, it's a pretty simple character. I was just planning on cropping her eye and duplicating it in Spine. So over here in the layers menu, you'll see a lot of cool things. The first one, ignore, reference. That's because I don't really want it to export all this. It's not necessary. I don't want them to export it. I'm also going to, while I'm here, see it's the closed bracket, ignore the background. There is an option for you to click it in the export, but half the time I forget to click it. And then I have this annoying giant white thing that I have to deal with. It's not hard to deal with. You just delete it, but one less thing to worry about. The other things you'll see is slot. It's not a casino. Slots are what Spine kind of contains its information in. A good example of a slot, aside from all this, is a hand, and you would have multiple hands in a slot. Only one hand would show at a time. You see under skin, which I'll get to in a second, there is a slot hand. And then there's just a whole bunch of things you see here. Merge. But you can see there's multiple hands in this one slot. Making slots is just as simple as doing ignore. You do the bracket, you type in the tag, you do the closed bracket, you type hand, whatever you want to name that specific slot. The merge is because I like layers, and each merge will basically make one image based from the multiple layers that you have. In this case, you know what? Let me turn this back art off so you can kind of see better. So it says merged, closed hand. In the export, you'll only get the image of her closed hand. I'm just going to pull it out just a bit so you can see here. Oh, well, okay. That's fine. That's how I layered it. It's not broken. It's that way on purpose. And then you'll see there's multiple layers inside of closed hands. Now, because I was trying to work fast, I was a terrible person and I did not name my layers correctly. However, you can just kind of turn them on and off. You can see that's like the color fill. This thing that says top, that's actually the outline. And then there's the shade and the base. So instead of exporting all 4 of those layers, it will just export the one. So merge is incredibly handy if you like working in a ton of layers like I do. This isn't even a ton of layers, right? Like 4 layers isn't even so bad. It doesn't matter how many layers you have in a merge folder, it'll just make the one image. So in this case, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hands in the hand slot. You'll notice that I have a hand bottom slot underneath the hand top, and that's because it's accounting for any time I would want to put an item in her closed hand, because I would want the slots to stay separate, because I would want her palm to always be underneath her fingers so that in between those 2 slots, I could put an item like a spoon or a bloody hatchet or something, whatever I want to do. The other big one you see here is skin. It's another version of the rig. So for this instance, these girls are going to be sharing the same rig. So for me to not just make two of like a duplicate rig or something, I'm going to give them a skin, an assigned skin. And that way the animator, the dev, whoever can switch it from one girl to the other. This can also be used for items. So, I'm holding a spoon, the hatchet, like we kind of talked about before. That would also be a great use of skin. So basically, just think of it. You can also change their clothes. You can be quite literal. It's like, I'm changing my skin. I'm changing the clothes, whatever you want, as long as it's sharing the same rig. And then you're just assigning different skins. You do not have to have a skin assigned to your skeleton. We'll get into that. But just so you know, it's not mandatory. But for this project, I am using multiple skins. So that's the overview of how to type out your layers, what the layers do. I always forget. You can take this corner right here. You click, you hold, you drag, and you would place it here. And you're never going to see it again. It's not very great. But basically what that does is it assigns the root bone to your rig. I personally like mine at the feet, and you can always change it when you get back into spine. However, that's how you just like instantly tell them where the rig is supposed to go. Now, that is using the original Spine script. Spine has very recently updated it to where you can import the PSD directly into Spine. I've tested it. It's way faster. It breaks a lot less, and I like it a lot. I'm going to go ahead and show you how to do both, just in case for some reason you would rather do the script than go into Spine directly. If you want to use the Spine script, it's going to take a very long time, not days, but it takes a lot longer than doing it directly into Spine with their new system. But what you would do is you would go to File and you go to Scripts and Browse. And I'm going to blur stuff because I need to. But you would go and find your script and you would click on the script that you want. So you see, I personally have Photoshop to Spine. I have Illustrator to Spine. They both work pretty differently, but you would click this, load, and it's going to bring you this cute little Spine window. And you have the options, ignore hidden layers. You can click that if you want to. A lot of times I don't, because I accidentally have something turned off that I actually want to export, yada, yada. If I'm going to have anything ignored, I want the complete power over it. And thus I type in ignore into the layer. Write JSON file, write Spine JSON. Yes, do that. Save yourself a life. Write template image. It's up to you. You're already going to have the JSON. It's not really necessary. But if you want a template image, like it's just one flat image, you go for it. Ignore background layer. I already wrote it. Ignore, but I'm going to say yes anyway. Trim white space. It basically just keeps the mask, like not the mask, but the art close to the border in Spine, meaning there's not a bunch of empty space. Just keep it. Scale, I'm keeping mine at 100%. If you like to work super large, I do recommend scaling down. I had a project once where it was, I think the characters were 3,000 something. I personally rendered it at 50% when doing exporting, because if your character is way too big, you can work in Spine, it's fine, but navigating it can be clunky. And also, they're never going to be that big in the game, I'm pretty sure. So just, keep it reasonable. It's not like you have to, but just be practical about it. Padding is kind of similar to trim white space. Keep it. I've never had an issue with it beyond 1 or below. I keep it at 1. So that's what I would recommend. Do too if you want safe padding. But basically, you want padding to avoid any accidental clipping in your art. And then you have your outputs. So what you would do is go to your folder like this and copy wherever you want your images to go, paste it in here, and then you would want your JSON file kind of similar. What I personally like to do is make the folder to where I have the images here, and the Spine, the JSON file will type like outside the image. So, copy that, put it in here, and then copy the image folder. Yes, there's already pictures here, I'm not doing this in real time, guys. I'm trying to make this a decent tutorial. Put that in there, and then you would hit OK. And it will take just time. Because there's so many merge layers, doing it through the script takes a significant amount of time. So do keep that in mind if you like to work with a lot of merge layers. If you would like to import directly through Spine, we're going to do New Project, Spine, and Import PSD. Kind of similar. They're going to ask, well, okay, what's your PSD file? They might not be so sassy about it. But you click on your PSD, you hit Open. It's going to ask you to scale, one spine, padding spine, trim white space, ignore hidden layers, all that. And then you're going to give it like the folder to export to. And I'm going to say export to here, I'm going to give it permission to overwrite what I had. And then, new project. I'm going to rename this Noms Girls because it's going to create a new skeleton. Yes, you want to do a new project. If you do the import into this current project, it's going to make a second skeleton in here. And then you're going to have to delete the skeleton. Is it the worst thing in the world? No, but it kind of makes your hierarchy look a little funny. So you hit import and it's like, hey, do you want to discard change? Yes, just discard this useless project that don't have anything in it. And it's going to say, you're going to overwrite a bunch of stuff. It might not say that for you if this is your first project. Say whatever, man. And then it's going to import. Much faster, by the way. Enough to where I just let it go. And there she is. Now you may be wondering, Diana, why is her head cut off? Well, it's okay. When you have multiple skins, they don't turn on automatically. Easiest way is you go to this little drop down. Boom. There she is. She's fine. And then if you click on the other one, make sure she's okay. She's fine. She looks a little upset, but she's okay. And then that's how you do it. That's importing your PSD files directly into Spine. It's a lot less buggy than going back and forth with the Spine script, so I fully recommend it. If you find that a slot is like not in the right place, then you can go to the draw order here, and we'll cover this in the rigging episode. There you go. All said and done. I do notice that when you import into Spine directly, the little trick where it keeps the root doesn't really work. And that's really okay. I'll just do this. And this. And fixed. So by clicking this images button, it allows me to move bones without the images moving. Get into that later. But there you go. That is the end of today's lesson. Thank you for joining me and stay tuned for more if you're interested.